The mechanics behind hero life, resources, and drawing of cards are likely very different from other card games you may have played, and are all intertwined in a way which adds a new level of fun, determinism, and skill to the game. Each player starts the game with one worker from their deck at their mine. At the start of your turn, you may generate resources up to the number of workers you have at your mine. When you generate resources, the top card of your deck is moved to your active pile for each resource you are generating. When you spend resources, you move cards from your active pile to your spent pile, which allows you to play cards and activate abilities. So here you can see I have 3 workers at my mine, so I'm able to generate up to 3 resources each turn. There are 4 phases of each player's turn: generate, main, attack, and draw. During your draw phase, you may draw any amount of resources you have not spent from your active pile. At the end of your turn, each card in your spent pile is moved to the bottom of your deck. Resources you don't spend remain in your active pile and can be used to pay for cards and abilities during your opponent's turn, or to save until your next turn. When you spend resources, you move cards from your active pile to your spent pile, which allows you to play cards and activate abilities. So here you can see we have a card with cost 3. When we play this card, 3 cards are moved from our active pile to our spent pile to pay for it. Each player creates a deck consisting of 60 cards. Your hero's life is equal to the number of cards in your deck, spent, and active piles. When your hero takes damage, cards are moved from those piles into your junkyard. So here we have a card which is going to deal 3 damage when it's resolved. So if we deal 3 damage to the opponent here, 3 cards are moved from his deck to his junkyard. Since the cards in your life zones make up your hero's life, every card you choose to draw during your draw phase is lowering your hero's life total, bringing you closer to defeat. Knowing when to draw, spend, or save your resources is a skill unto itself. Note my hero's life going down. When you play a worker card, you generate a resource and it goes to your mine. Your workers are not stuck at your mine for the remainder of the game, however. During each of your draw phases, you may move up to 1 worker from your mine back to the board. Your workers won't generate resources or provide thresholds unless they are at your mine, or state otherwise, but this adds a ton of depth as well, by allowing you to use your workers to block a big attacker you can't deal with, add to the strength of your army, so on and so forth. So during our draw phase, we can move 1 worker from our mine to the board. We glossed over thresholds, but if you've played any other collectible card games, you probably already have an idea of how that works. In case you don't, some workers have 1 or more threshold icons, which you can see here. Some cards require that you are generating enough of these threshold types in order to be played. So here you can see we have 2 of this red elemental threshold and 1 of the white. This card here requires 3 of the red, so we can't play it right now. If we play this worker, it's going to be generating the red and the white for us, and we're now able to play this card. During your main phase, you can choose to attack with any number of ready troops you control. You can choose to target the opponent's structures or their hero, but you can't attack their troops directly. Once you declare an attack, the opponent will have an opportunity to block with any number of ready troops they control. Blocking will intercept the attack damage from the attacker and will be applied to the blocker's health instead. When the attacker resolves, it will deal damage equal to its attack to the blocker and vice versa. Drawing fate is a core mechanic of the game. Many cards or abilities will have an icon like this, which says X equals draw fate. What that means is we draw the top card of our deck and use its fate value, the value at the top right, as X. So if we activate this ability here, we drew a 1. Fate value is 1 here. So when this resolves, X is 1, so it's going to deal 1 damage. This means that in general, you want the cards in your deck to have a high average fate value for when you play cards with abilities which require fate to be drawn. This also adds a lot of depth in terms of cycling cards through your resource zones, as there are various ways you can effectively stack your deck with the highest fate value cards possible. In addition, many cards will augment or modify the fate value of cards. So, for instance, in this situation, we could have used her ability, Seal Fate, give target card plus X fate. Seal Fate, in short, means that we use this card's fate value as the X value of this ability, so 9. So we could have activated this while it was after we had drawn the fate and bumped that up to 10 and done 10 damage there. So there's cards which modify the fate values positively, also cards which can negatively affect our opponent's fate draws, or allow us to reduce their fate draws. There's also cards which allow us to set up our fate draws. So for instance, look at the top card of your deck, you may move it to your spent pile. So we can play this. Look at the top card of our deck. If we see a low value there, we could choose to move it to our spent pile and hope that the next one's higher. So 6 is pretty high, so we'll keep it there. Play Static Surge, deal X damage to target. Your hero gains plus X armor. So we know we're going to draw 6, right? Gets increased on top of it. So another example of modifying fate draws. Hero weapons are an important card type in Dark Matter. They provide abilities, let your hero attack, and can prevent damage. An important design goal of Dark Matter is to make your hero feel like it is actually on the board, commanding your troops and affecting the outcome of the game. So you just saw that this card had a fire weapon ability, the ability that says shoot, cooldown 3, but as well, we can now attack because we have an attack, the weapon provides an attack of 3. Hero attack works different than the troop attack. It can attack anywhere on the board. If there is a troop that the opponent has in between, we can't attack their hero directly, however. Hero weapons not only provide us with attack as well as additional abilities, but it also provides us with armor. So in this case, this card has a armor value of 6. When we play this, we will gain 6 armor. Armor will prevent damage until it reaches 0, at which point the hero weapon will be destroyed. So our opponent's ability here should trigger, causing our hero weapon to be destroyed. And we would have taken 8 damage, we ended up taking 2 in the end. Quick overview of the 5 main card types in Dark Matter. Troops, cards which can attack and block. Ships, characters, and vehicles are all considered troops. Workers are also characters and are also troops, as mentioned earlier. Structures provide us with constant effects, activated abilities. They can build like in RTS games, let us research permanent abilities. They can also be targeted directly when the opponent attacks. Weapons and attachments attach to our troops and provide us with additional health, attack, and or additional abilities. So Jericho Flat Cannon, for instance, has a fire weapon ability, but also provides 3 attack, 1 health to its host. Side note, this is a pilot, a character which can attack. We'll cover that separately in a different video. Actions do something when played. When they resolve, they go to the junkyard or the spent pile if they are recycled actions. All cards can only be played during the player's main phase except for fast actions, which can be played during any phase, even during the opponent's turn. Hero weapons, we already covered. Cost and cooldown. So many abilities will have a cost or cooldown associated with them. So cooldown 3, cost 1, give your infantry units +1 ranged weapon damage this turn. So this ability is already cooling down here. When our turn starts now, all of our cooldowns are reduced by 1. And this means also that we can use since that ability is cooldown 3, we can effectively use it once every 3 turns. Cooldown 2 ability, use that every 2 turns, but then there's also cards which can reduce the cooldowns immediately. So give your infantry units +1/+1, reduce their active cooldowns by 1. So this will reduce the cooldown of this ability by 1. Not that, because it's on the weapon itself.